Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Speech Check. I'm Sam,
And I'm Matt.
and this is episode 26.
And today we're going to talk about Spider Man Miles Morales, the problems being faced by the new console generation, and stick around to the end to hear our comments on the question from last episode. But before we talk about any of those things, Sam, what have you been playing?
I have been playing, so I went on a bit of a spree since we last spoke. There's been a bit of time since our last episode, and I've actually played quite a few games, which is kind of uncharacteristic of me,
Okay.
as I'm usually pretty systematic. I usually like to close one chapter that I've already got open before I start a new game.
Mm.
So I tied up a few loose ends. One of which was the Tourist, the puzzle platformer that I mentioned a few episodes ago. If you remember
Okay,
that,
yeah, I remember.
I played it through in full, completed it, and I would happily recommend this to basically everybody.
Hmm.
It's fun. It understands the scope and tone. It kind of knows the game it wants to be, and it does that pretty well. Doesn't try to overshoot. It has a very definite idea of the stuff it wants to do, and it doesn't try to do. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel. Basically, it's just trying to be a puzzle platformer, and it does that really well. And
Mm.
considering it was on Game Pass, I didn't have to pay for it, and I think it's under a gig. It's about 500 to 600 meg,
What?
which in 2020 is a fantastic
What are you
install
talking
size.
about? By AAA standards, 50 gig will be small.
I know it's pretty ridiculous, but it's yeah, it's a good game. Got a full 1000 Gs on it as well.
Oh, nice. Was it hard?
Some of them, a lot of its gameplay is so the puzzles themselves that you would solve are like games within games. So there's one instance where there's an island that's called Leisure Island, and it has loads of tasks, and there's an arcade on it. And one guy's like, "You can't beat my high scores. If you do, I'll give you blah blah blah." Like either gold coins or something that you need to progress through the game.
Mm.
And then so you go in, and each of the arcade games is like kind of a game within itself, which are actually fairly challenging.
That's kind of cool.
To get the high scores, actually, you need to get some level of mastery on that game. And on another island is a surfing minigame, which is basically like kind of games where you basically have to keep a bar within like a balance zone, and if you go too far off, you fail, and then you have to start again. So yeah, it's like micro games that make up kind of the individual challenges, and you get abilities like a double jump and a sprint and stuff like that, which allow you to progress. It's a little bit Metroidy in that sense. It's not a Metroidvania. It just has that Metroid element to it, and then you get new abilities, and you can go and unlock other stuff. But yeah, it's good. I would recommend. I then went on to start another game that I've had in my library for a little while, but I've not cracked on with, and that is I'm going to call it the narrative-driven walking simulator. What Remains of Edith Finch? If you've heard of that.
I have. Another friend played it. Do you like turn into animals and like clouds and stuff? It's quite like strange and meta, right?
Yeah, there's one thing. Well, there's one kind of dream sequence where you do that, but it's a genre that I'm not really into. Like that being walking simulators, because I
Mm.
just kind of feel like a lot of devs saw Slender Man, like saw how it blew up, and then just wanted to make first-person games that don't really do anything other than just give you jump scares every now and then.
Mm.
But I played Gone Home around about a year ago, which is more or less the same premise as this, and I really enjoyed that. So I thought that kind of gave me the push to get this one as well, because I'd heard it was a lot like it. It's a lot shorter than Gone Home, and there's like a lot less secrets and stuff to find, but it was still really good. And to give like a spoiler-free overview of the story, you play as the eponymous Edith Finch. You go back to your childhood home, which is like a really eclectic built structure. Visually, it looks kind of like the house from the Addams Family, and it's got like the kind of big tower. I don't know what to kind of
Okay. Yeah.
that has a specific name. You're the final living member of the Finch family, and you go home after receiving a letter from your mother, I think, and you relive small portions of each family member, and you see how they all died, and all the deaths are apparently related to this family curse. I guess kind of in a similar way to the Tourist. It's like very small chunks of a game that make up the whole of the actual game.
Sounds intriguing.
It's definitely worth play if you're into walking simulators. If you're into stuff like Gone Home or Firewatch, you'll probably like this as well.
Mm.
And Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. That's a good game as well. I would play this first because I think it's definitely the shortest out of all those kind of games.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was good. I finished it in like a couple of hours, and that was with the
Oh,
achievements as
wow.
well. You pretty much get the achievements as you do it. But yeah, there's not challenge in it. It's
That's very short, though. Like, very short.
yeah. Again, this was a Game Pass game, so like kind of the
Oh.
price doesn't affect it too much. But I wouldn't pay more than a fiver for it, which may sound a little bit harsh, but
Well, I mean, how much would you pay to rent a movie on Amazon Prime?
yeah, exactly. And I also started Little Nightmares. But I've barely scratched the surface of it.
Love that game.
Put like a couple of hours into it, and I'm hoping it's going to test me. Apparently, there's only one achievement that's like tough, like skill wise, and that's to finish the game in under an hour. And apparently, a perfect no death run will take you 55 minutes. So I'm hoping it'll be. I got the complete edition as well, so it has the I think Secrets of the Mall. I want to say is the DLC.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that with the sackhead kid? Right? You
Yes.
don't play as the yellow jacket.
Yeah, Six I think the name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to get this done before the sequel comes out. Which I'm not exactly sure when it comes out, but I've seen it like preview and I've seen gameplay on it a couple of months ago. I think it was at Gamescom. So if I can get this done for then, I can get it in time for that one. But yeah, it looks cool. I like the creepiness of it. So that's enough of me.
Good.
What have you been playing, Matthew?
Well, I took the plunge and bought Terminator Resistance, which I think I spoke about. I know I've spoken to you about it directly, but I think I've spoken about it on Speech Check as well. It was on sale. I looked at it and I was like, God, are you worth 20 quid, game? Tell me your secrets. Are you worth 20 quid? Because you're typically priced at 35 and you don't look like you're worth that. And I just didn't know what to do about it. But I caved to my impulsive self and picked it up on the nostalgia factor. And I've completed it. Took me about 15 hours to complete. I did all the side stuff. So I guess if you didn't do that, probably maybe, I don't know, like an 8-hour runtime, I reckon, for the game. And I would say it is a very okay game. If I could talk to myself like a month ago, I would advise him not to buy it because I don't think it was worth 20 quid. I mean, I streamed it, right? I wanted to play through it and I thought, you know what, I'm going to be playing this anyway. I'll stream it. And yeah, it doesn't know, or it didn't know, sorry, whether it wanted to be Fallout or Call of Duty. It just didn't know. It would like build up these kind of segments where you're collecting resources and you're crafting certain things and you're stealthing around and avoiding fights when you can, hacking stuff to get the one up in fights when you want to take them, and being quite tactical in how you approach stuff. And then the next segment, you'd be forced down a corridor with crates that were just pumped with ammo and health so that you could make it to the end of this section. But the end of the section would be difficult, so you probably use a lot of that health and ammo, and then you'd be dumped back into an open world section. And they reuse the sections, so you have the 2 of the sections at day, then 2 of the sections at night. And when you go back at night, the stuff that you've looted is gone, so you don't have those resources again. So I found when I went into Pasadena the second time, I picked everything up. I didn't have any health. I didn't have any ammo because I just come from a Call of Duty section. And I was like, well, I'm a bit naffed here. So it took me about 6 or 7 attempts to try and really carefully make my way around this environment so I could get enough resources so I could craft stuff so that I could push forward. And it's just, the game is just struggling the whole time. And you can feel the push and pull of those 2 different game design directions. And they should have just doubled down on one. It seemed like they put a lot of effort into the crafting system, but because it's balanced with such an action-focused set-piece type game design, there wasn't enough. What do I want to say? Like focus on economy management. So I found myself in the beginning of the game, I had a ton of resources and a ton of money, nothing I needed to craft and nothing to spend money on. Then I would just dump it all at one time, go into the next section, and it's just not. It just didn't work like an open world game, right? Where it's like you can target something you want to buy, you go out into the open world area, collect stuff, maybe craft some things, and you come back and you sell things and you buy that thing that you want so that you can take on the next quest. Like whenever you're in an open world area in that game, you can't leave until you complete the main quest objectives. So you're just trapped. You're trapped waiting for the next time the game wants to push you onto a place where there's a store. So it was just decisions like that made me think, why didn't they just go all in for the Call of Duty? Just give me straight lines and And also the ending of the game, I think I told you about. I'm not going to spoil it or anything, but it literally culminated in one character gives you a massive expo dump on the entire game and tells you what the events have been about, rather than seeing anything or working out for yourself. Then you get a room that is just filled with every end game weapon and tons of ammo and tons of health, and then you do the end game. And I was like, what? Well, what was the point in me like trying to build stuff up or buy things or craft stuff when you're just going to give it all to me when stuff's going to get hard? I don't know. It was just a game that was fighting itself. Sorry, a bit ranty, because I did like it.
No, it's having watching you stream it a few times. Those design decisions and how kind of juxtaposed they were palpable, even as a viewer and even as someone who's not. I don't feel like I could design a game from scratch, but I feel like I can tell the difference between good design versus bad design, and that. Yeah, it just kind of it had a bit of an identity crisis, like you said. It didn't know whether it wanted to be an all-right action game or a crafty open world Fallout-esque experience.
Yeah, and kind of a side note, they also had no idea how to make Terminators a legitimate enemy, because fighting them, I was playing on hard, fighting them was not fun at all. And I get it that they're Terminators and they're designed to literally kill you, so why not focus the game around, I don't know, other scavengers or the other types of robots they have in the game, and have more of that. And then whenever you see a Terminator, it's almost like a huge boss fight, because you have to do a bunch of stuff in the environment before you can take him on, or maybe you literally have to try and find some way to pour boiling metal over him or something. You know what I mean? Like, turn it into a huge set piece.
It's a real choice whether you want to. Like, if you engage with it, that's going to be a lot of your resources gone. So you can either afford to do that, or you can't. Whereas it seemed like from you playing it, it was just an annoyance. They were just an aimbot with terrible pathfinding.
Oh yeah, the AI absolutely sucked. I don't know what was going on, but the nav meshes seemed so weird. Like, if you could just walk out of bounds for their navigation and they would stop. If they were in a house and you went out around the corner, they wouldn't follow you far. They'd go out, stop, and then they just walk back in and stay on, do like an alert path, and then just go back to their navigation route. So that was sometimes absolutely hilarious. Yeah, like you said, they're just aimbots. So you pop out of cover, you take one shot, and then you have like a volley of laser fire directed exactly at your iris, just like flying at you from 200 yards away. And how do you make something that's so intimidating a difficult fight? But if you're going to make them a regular enemy, they also have to be defeatable and challenging. It's just a design challenge that they kind of didn't really pick up. It was almost better at the start of the game when my bullet weapons just did nothing. So I had a clear objective. When I saw a Terminator, I had to run. I had to run and I had to hide. But when you can kind of fight them sometimes, and also they fall over when you hit them in the head sometimes, and it's just a bit like, meh. Anyway, I'll move on. Neo-Scavenger is the other one I've been playing a lot of, which has the UI from hell, but when you get around it, when it stops looking like XL 1995, it's all right. It's good. There's a lot of hilarious stuff that can happen. There's a lot of theater of the imagination, but I enjoy it.
I could never play it. Like, even watching you stream it was difficult for me to kind of comprehend.
I guess I was at the point when I was streaming it where I could kind of move fast, because I knew what I was doing, so I knew, like, know where the buttons are and stuff. So it could be like scavenge, use this, blah blah blah. But yeah, it took me at least 2 to 3 hours and a friend's help to like truly understand what I needed to do where, and where to put what, and that's not even like playing the game, I suppose. That is literally just managing your inventory and like working out how to camp properly. Not even camp effectively, but just where the screen is so that you can do it. Like, there's a lot of UI challenges, but it was a tenner. If I'm honest, I'd have an easier time suggesting Neo-Scavenger to someone who can deal with that kind of barrier to entry than I would suggesting Terminator at 20 quid. Just because it became such a generic, oh, actually, Terminator's in canon. It's fully in canon. Do I want to spoil it? I really want to tell you. But
when does it take place? Between what films?
It's after... Well, it's
after Salvation?
1 and 2. So they only reference 1 and 2 directly.
So before they've sent back Arnie in Judgment Day.
Can I do a little spoiler warning? Can I?
Yeah, if we do a little if you don't want to know anything about Terminator Resistance, don't listen to this now.
It's gonna be like 2 seconds. Basically, end of the game. It turns out that the chip that you get from one of the infiltrators and you reprogram, you give it to this dude, and that is this dude, John fucking Connor, and that is the basis for the AI that goes into Arnie.
Oh, that's cool.
For the first film. And he says before we got here, Skynet used a TDE to send back 2 Terminators and 3 Terminators, because one chases you in the game as well. And he's like, we've got to reprogram this guy to go here. We've sent Kyle Reese to go here, and then you go back and you save yourself from the last one. That was the cool bit, but they told it in fucking previs comic book screens. Did they just run out of money? What happened? Anyway, right, that's what I've been playing.
Let's do this.
So that's what we've been playing, but Matt now is going to tell us about the releases. Matt, what has come out?
What indeed? So I've got 3 AAAs today.
It's a big one this week.
No indies, there's no small games here. These are all the biggest of boys. It's the lead up to Christmas. Everyone wants to be the Christmas game.
It's November. This is when all the big games come out. Nothing happens the entire year. And then just all the big boys come out at Christmas.
We're going to start with Call of Duty Cold War, developed by Raven, Treyarch, and Sledgehammer. This one is a bit of a strange one to cover. Came out 30th of November 2020, by the way.
If I could just jump in. 3 devs, always a sign of a great game.
That was a struggle. I was looking up. I was like, all right, doing my research. So who developed what? I knew it had multiple devs. They do, don't they? The Call of Duty games, they tend to outsource.
Well, they normally split. So it's normally what used to be Infinity Ward and Treyarch, and then Infinity Ward. The OG staff Infinity Ward kind of split, and then it became Sledgehammer, I think, in Modern Warfare 3, and now it's just become this. Raven did the Modern Warfare remaster, which Raven are decent. They made some decent games.
Raven Software have been around a long time as well. Maybe not with the same people, but they've been, they were like 90s OGs.
Yeah, they're doing stuff like on the slide. People probably have played games that didn't know that they made it, but yeah. But I apologize. Tangents, continue.
That's all right. They're welcome here. Yeah, so I was looking up the devs, and I was like, right, who developed what? I knew there was a few, and I couldn't find a clean answer. So the cleanest answer I could find is that Raven and Sledgehammer were supposed to dev. They stopped getting on. The heads of departments were like falling out. So Treyarch had to like step in and be like, right, everyone play nice or nobody plays at all. And it turned into Raven Treyarch doing the single player, and I think Sledgehammer Treyarch did the multiplayer and the zombies. Now that is what I could find. If anyone knows more about that, I would appreciate a comment on it, because maybe my research was lacking on that one, but that was what I was able to find.
That sounds terrible. Like I'd never want to work on something like that. That just sounds like a recipe for disaster.
When stuff starts getting passed around from dev to dev, it's a bad sign. And much like the development of this game, I'm going to break this down into 3 sections, because it does have 3 specific parts to it. So first off, I'm going to go over the general stuff. Graphics are great, on par or better than Modern Warfare from 2 years ago. 2 years ago, 2018 or 2019?
2019, I believe. Yeah,
Modern Warfare 2019.
That's saying something, because that was kind of quite highly praised for its graphics, especially on if you got a high-end PC. I think it could do ray tracing, and it looked very, very nice. Yeah,
I remember the trailer, the night vision section of the trailer. I thought that was live action. I thought they'd actually recorded real military footage or something. I was stunned when that was in game. It was very, very good. It's a high bar that Modern Warfare set, but I think this game lives up to it, and I highly, highly doubt anyone with either one of the new consoles or a high-end PC is going to boot this up and think, oh god, what is this, the N64? It's a good-looking game. Sound, also very good across the board. I've heard that they've made efforts to balance the soundscape specifically for multiplayer, so the gun sounds are now lower in the mix and footstep noises are higher. Little tidbit if anyone's interested. And the gameplay is COD gameplay. You know what to expect. And we're back to the COD mainstays as well. There's no running on walls or jetpack jumping or anything. It's just your sprint, crouch, prone, slide, jump. The standard. I couldn't see any microtransactions. Now, to clarify what I mean by that, direct microtransactions. So there's still the COD store where you can buy the packs and the blueprints and all that kind of stuff, but they're not Battlefront. You know what I mean? They're not EAing us on this one, which is good. I don't know whether anyone really cares about that for COD games, you know, and I don't know whether people count the COD store as microtransactions because it's all cosmetics and, you know, bits and bobs for your guns. I know technically you get different attachments, but I wouldn't say that there's things that allow you to skip gameplay or change game balance within that. So I say no microtransactions.
You can unlock stuff earlier, but it's not wholly like power play to win from what I've seen.
Maybe that's a better way to put it, rather than microtransactions, not pay to win. So I'm going to start with the single player, which is great. Some people are saying the best single player in 6 years for COD, which is a big statement. It's non-linear, kind of. You can make decisions throughout the game, which will take you in different directions. Some of the maps are open, and you can complete missions in different ways. And, you know, like your choices matter. There's a reflection in the story and what you do in each mission. That's a bit different. That's a bit nice. We're maybe saved from our modern military tropes that we tend to get in a Call of Duty game. You know, you don't really expect more than gruff, grizzled men get betrayed by other grizzled man. I think the only one I remember is World at War for Reznov, and that was kind of a Shyamalan-esque reveal. It wasn't really a good story. You know what I mean? Nobody goes to COD for a narrative, but this is apparently better than most, running about 6 hours, I'd say, 6 to 8 hours, 8 if you're lucky. The next one, that was a pretty quick rundown for single player. There's not a huge amount to say. Oh, you can also select different perks. There's a perk system in game. I've not played a COD in a long old time, so I don't know if that's now a mainstay. But you can select perks in single player, and you know you could have a build for a mission, a bit different to me. What? That's kind of cool.
Black Ops 2 did this. Black Ops 2 had branching story paths, decisions, and you could pick a loadout. So like you didn't have to get stuck with the weapons in a specific mission. You could pick like a single player loadout and go into a game. Mm-hmm. People don't give Black Ops 2 enough credit for like the stuff it did. It was a really good COD, and it doesn't get enough.
I really enjoyed Black Ops 2.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it's just not up there with people. I don't know if I had a good experience with it, but I don't know if there was like a really powerful weapon that overshadowed the multiplayer. I don't really know, but I didn't feel like it's enough mention.
I don't remember it for having that, but people seem to love Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, right? Those are like people's main go-to. I love Call of Duty. I really like Modern Warfare 2, you know? Nobody says I love Call of Duty. I really like Black Ops 2.
Yeah, I know. That makes me sad. I think that's one of the best ones, but who knows?
Who does know? Zombies. Next branch of Call of Duty. Apparently, again, really good. At the minute, there's one big map. So you start off in the Nacht der Untoten building, and then that expands into the surrounding areas, an underground lab, and an other world called the Ether, where things are a little bit different. Apparently, the Cold War zombies kind of walks the line between being standard gameplay, just pure zombies gameplay, and the more bonkers Easter egg hunty type stuff, but it doesn't favor the Easter egg hunt like some of the later CODs did. But that was where I kind of checked out when the whole game was about sniping a teddy a million miles out of the map with a very specific gun that had been pack-a-punched or something. That was when I was like, I just want to play the game and get to a high level. You know, I don't want to have to do all this weird crap.
I think they've backed themselves into a corner with that because they can only now make it more insane. They can't really go back and make it just like the cool little thing like press this, press that, and you're done. It has to be some insane, elaborate 250-step multi-thing.
Yeah, and I thought it was cool in the original Zombies when you got do you remember the rock music you could get to play by doing certain stuff in the environment? That's an Easter egg to me.
Then just like, I think it was like just press X at certain radios and then you unlocked a song.
Yeah, I was down with that. That's all I need from an Easter egg. I don't need to. I don't want to have to do it to like progress or anything. You know, just let me play, man. Yeah, this seems to walk that line between those two fronts, and they do have a lot of content in there. Like there's a new exfil that you can do during zombies. If you get to level 10, you can call in a chopper. Then you have to kill a certain number of zombies for the chopper to land, and you can get out, take your loot with you from your run. XP between zombies and multiplayer is shared, so that's kind of cool. And some of the attachments for multiplayer do different stuff in zombies. So you might have a particular scope, like an ACOG, that is just zoom and flinch reduction or something, you know, that sort of thing for multiplayer. And in zombies, maybe it gives you more resources as well. There's that kind of interplay, which is cool, looks interesting. It's probably the main mode that has made me interested in the game, because it just looks good. It looks well crafted, looks fun. Last up, multiplayer. This is a bit of a bone of contention for some people. Releasing with only, I believe it's 6 maps, although someone has told me 8. And I think that's whether or not you're including some of the larger combined arms maps. Not many maps on release. Each gun has an insane number of attachments, something like 80 or so lots and lots of customization. The maps are also quite simplified, so they're kind of taking some of the advanced map design away from previous CODs, and they've gone back to, you know, 3 lanes, flanking routes, pretty standard. Some people like it, some people don't, say that it favors campers and that there isn't enough detail in some maps, and in some maps there's too much detail, too many corners. So I don't know, it seems like there are 2 camps on this. In terms of the gameplay itself, it's pretty good. There's a slightly higher time to kill, which you'd expect from the Treyarch CODs. That's always been the way. And there's not a lot I can really say about Call of Duty multiplayer that people don't already know. You know, you kill people, level up, unlock stuff. Seems pretty good. It seems tight. They're definitely going to be releasing some DLC. Apparently it's going to be free, and that will introduce new maps. There are also some pretty interesting new modes. I mentioned combined arms. There is also a mode that's based on plunder from Warzone, where you have, I believe it's 5 teams of 4, all dropping into the same map, like in Warzone, to collect uranium and dump it in these tanks to set off a dirty bomb. I think that is kind of cool. And when you respawn, you parachute in and stuff. So they've mixed up with some modes, and you've of course got the COD classics like Team Deathmatch, Hardcore, Sabotage. Like, they're all there, but there's new stuff as well. So my overall of those 3 modes, that was a lot to speak about. Overall, I think this is worth it. It's
hard to recommend a COD game, right? Because they're inherently all the same.
Yeah.
I think it all depends on if you know, like, I'm getting it, but I'm getting it for I've asked for it for Christmas, so I'm happy to not spend 60 quid on it. It's just hard to recommend a game now when games are 60, 70 quid. You've got to be so sure in that it is a really good game, and not that COD's not good, but it's just COD. Once you play one COD, you pretty much played them all. Is
it worth the experience? You know what I mean? 70 quid. You are getting a lot of bang for your buck, to be fair. Or, you know, 50 quid, $70. You're getting a lot of game. You know, the single player is worth playing. Zombies is pretty robust, and the multiplayer has a lot of content. So you are getting a lot of stuff. If you like Call of Duty, it's a good pickup. And I think there's a lot of, maybe there's some negativity swirling around it, but it is good. And it is going to be integrated into Warzone pretty soon. So that's one to watch out for. Moving right along, Assassin's Creed Valhalla from Ubisoft Montreal, coming out the 10th of November 2020. This one is going to be brief because, in the course of writing this script, I realized that I don't think I like very many AAA games. Because when I was writing about it, I was like, well, what do I say? The graphics and sound are going to be great, because it's hundreds of people worked on it for like millions of dollars, so of course it's going to be great. It's an AC game, so it's one of the new wave AC. If you played Origins or Odyssey, very similar gameplay. You know, you can fight stuff head on if you choose. You can stealth around if you choose. You have a Raven that can scope out places, which is absolutely nothing like the Eagle that you had in Origins. It's nothing like it.
In Far Cry Primal.
Or indeed, from a game that was 5 years old. Yeah, it's nothing like that. It's a completely different mechanic, completely new. In fairness, I'm shitting on it. In fairness, there is a new mode. There's a raid mode. So kind of like if you played Shadow of War, you could do, I don't know if you did, but there were these large like battles you could take part in to like overtake someone's stronghold, and all of the people who you'd turn to your side during gameplay would like come and fight with you in these massive battles that were on a huge scale, and that was really fun. Seems like raids are going for a similar sort of vibe, where you and your companions fight an enemy stronghold and plunder it for its booty. That seems kind of fun. Apparently it's quite a thing to behold. The quest line is good. Main quest line's pretty nice. Story's good. Side quests are pretty goofy. There are some parts in the main quest that are actually quite down to earth as well. It's not quite as heady as some of the other Assassin's Creeds, where the story is so insane that like you meeting Leonardo da Vinci as he tells you about an apple that's going to end the world or something, and it's like, all right, we're so far outside the box, I don't even know where I am anymore. Like, it's quite, some sections are quite personal. That's cool. I like to see that. Obviously, it's still got all of the assassin stuff going alongside it, but yeah, sorry.
I know. I remember in Assassin's Creed 2, it was like you had like the stuff set from Assassin's Creed 1 that was like you're playing time to take out all these important people and kind of change the course of history or learn what happened. At the end of Assassin's Creed 2, they just went, oh yeah, the fucking poles are going to switch magnetisms, so we're all fucked. I was like, where the fuck did that come from? What are you on about? And they just said that like in a voiceover during the credits whilst they were rolling. I was like, that seems like a pretty big plot point to put over your credits when probably people have switched off or left the room.
It's a weird way to set up for a sequel.
Yeah, and I don't think they ever touched on that again.
Maybe it just happened.
Yeah, maybe it just went, oh, actually, do you know what? That happened and it wasn't actually that bad.
Yeah, but compasses are now useless, but, you know.
Yeah.
That's all right. The other things that they've changed, the loot system has been improved, so it feels less like a looter slasher where you're constantly picking up new weapons and each one's a tiny increment better than the last, so you upgrade one and then it's superseded because its level's greater or something. It seems like you can spend more time with one weapon, get to know it, upgrade it, and it can be relevant into the late game. That's kind of cool. And yeah, the acting's great. Voice acting's really good, particularly from the male protagonist. He's quite good.
Fair.
I think all I can really say about it is this is a new form Assassin's Creed game, but you're a Viking. That
basically is what it is, right?
That is the game. You know, for me, I'm not picking it up. I've got Origins and I haven't played it, and it's going to be the same gameplay experience, so it has no value to me.
It's tough, man. Like, as much as we shit on games for being the same, it's like, you know, as a series, you establish like the axioms and the hallmarks of the series itself. So at what point can you change that before it turns into something that's not that game?
Yeah, do you know what? I think Far Cry did a bloody good job. From 3, I think Blood Dragon, I think that was a great upheaval of expectation.
Having like a side project that wasn't like a full game, but it's enough. You get like almost creative freedom to just mess about. Yeah,
it just went a bit mental, and that was cool. Then you had Primal, which I don't know if many people liked or disliked, but put that game on survival mode, and sometimes you forget you're playing a Far Cry game.
I played it. It was pretty good.
I thought it was
I
good.
had more fun with Far Cry 4, as much as it probably could have been called Far Cry 3.5. But then like 5 and is it New Dawn, the one after that?
Yeah.
They're like a bit more mental, right?
5 was the cult one, right? That is Far Cry 5, because I remember really enjoying that. I thought that was a good game.
That's when the world ends, right? And then New Dawn is the like immediate continuation of that.
Yeah, and New Dawn sucked because they didn't know how to make anything new, ironically enough. But sorry, we're still like middle of the reviews. So many tangents. Spider-Man, Miles Morales, the last game that we're talking about from Insomniac Games, coming out the 12th of November 2020. Overall, it seems like it's a worthy successor to 2018's Spider-Man, borrowing a lot of the mechanics that everyone will be familiar with if they played that. There are some new things in there, notably Miles's bioelectricity attacks and ability to cloak. Now, I don't know much about the Spider-Man canon, but apparently that's a thing he can do. I don't know why. I don't know if it's suit related, but there we go. It's in there. It is simultaneously an amazing tech demo for the PS5 and a good game in its own right. Now, the 3 games I've spoken about all have fantastic graphics, But I feel like a Spider-Man game can show that off specifically because of the amount of movement that you're going to do. You're going to spend so much time swinging around and having a crazy time that it's going to show, when you've got that ray tracing on at like 60 FPS, it's going to look absolutely spectacular, like being at the top of a building or something. And it does that. It looks damn good. Voice acting is great. And the actor from Enter the Spider-Verse reprises his role as Miles, I believe. So that's nice.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Pretty awesome. Although the Spider-Man narrative, I think, is kind of done to death. There's only so many times you can say, but I'm a superhero and a teenager. I think some other stuff does come up, but that's always thrown in there, and it always makes me roll my eyes a little bit. The game is short, much shorter than Marvel Spider-Man, but there has been a lot of streamlining done. So there's no padding. You get a lot of very deliberate side quests and the main quest line, but it's not going to run you the same amount of time as Marvel Spider-Man. Also, anyone listening who wants to cringe their arsehole inside out, go to GameSpot's review of this game and go to 3 minutes and 2 seconds. You'll I don't know whether you'll thank me or just become annoyed, but it's funny, trust me. I think this is an
Yeah. You just need to experience that.
I'm not going to say it because no.
Makes you want to turn your skin inside out when you listen to it.
Ooh. A pickup for anyone who enjoyed 2018 Spider-Man, and I think a must-have for new PS5 owners.
Ooh.
I'm going to put
going out on a limb.
Put my money down on it. I rarely do that. I rarely say a must-have. And now I'm going to shut up. That's it. That's it for me for the releases, Sam.
Cool. Thanks, Matt. I'm enlightened as always.
So those were my releases, spread before you like delicious peanut butter, the smooth variety. And now Sam is going to make a delicious information sandwich for us, adding his bananas, cheese, and fried bread. Go ahead, Sam.
My intros can't hold a candle to yours. It's just so poetic. And I feel I always let you down with some banal points I've scavenged from IGN and Eurogamer. My first one I've got for you is some Super Mario merch is coming in honor of the Italian Plumber's 35th anniversary. We've got some new clothes drops from the nerd retailer Zavvi, leisurewear brand Champion, and trainers from PUMA.
Ooh.
So the Zavvi collection has 19 items in total. This is for both men and women, but no kids items, interestingly. You would have thought there would have been some, seeing as Nintendo/Mario is like primarily marketed to kids, but not leaving out adults as well. In that range, you've got t-shirts, long sleeve tees, hoodies. There's a varsity jacket, looks very nice, as well as things like mugs and a water bottle. They've also got an exclusive range called Mario 1985, which is only available for 7 days, but I think by the time this goes out, that is going to have passed. But it's an interesting thing to have that like scarcity element to it and have the FOMO for something like a clothes. But I guess maybe it worked. I don't really know.
Isn't it a common tactic these days to have a limited run of something to try and push people to buy?
I think so, but for doing that on a site like Zavvi, which isn't that well known anyway, for something on like Amazon or something that has a huge audience, that kind of makes sense. But I don't know. It just seems like you're kind of making it scarce for the sake of making it scarce, you know? The t-shirts are about 12 to 15 quid. Hoodies, about 30 quid, which isn't too insane for a hoodie.
No.
And also the same for the t-shirts. And the mugs and the water bottle are £8 and £16 respectively. And then you've got Champion. They've launched their Champion X Super Mario line, which that's much pricier. So you've got a hoodie on there, which is actually pretty cool. That'll cost you 70 quid. And their joggers and t-shirts are going for £50 and £30 respectively again. PUMA, being no stranger to video game collabs, as they've done Sonic before. I believe they did a line of Sonic's shoes for the movie.
That's pretty cool.
On November 27th, they're going to release 4 designs of Super Mario themed sneakers. Going to be available on the PUMA website. And they've also got a NES themed shoe coming out on December 4th. And these actually all look pretty dope. Normally, well, from my humble opinion, video game themed stuff kind of, it's like a bit OTT. It's kind of a bit gaudy, and it's like, yeah, I'm a gamer, love it. And that kind of gets, the style element of it gets kind of thrown by the wayside. Not that many nerds are I think being a nerd and being a fashion icon are two mutually exclusive things. You don't usually get those things don't normally marry up.
Yeah.
But these are pretty good. They're a bit more subtle, and yeah, they look pretty cool. We'll provide all the links to those sites in the description. So if you want to check them out and you're gonna get some Super Mario merch, let us know and let us know what you think of the designs. I thought they were pretty good.
I'll check them out after this.
Our next one, linking in to the fantastic review that Matt gave just now. The Vikings for Assassin's Creed arrived on November 10th, as Matt said, and according to the reviews and the news from Ubisoft, it has sold more units in its launch week than any other Assassin's Creed title. So it had a big old debut.
I was completely wrong. Carry on.
Ubisoft also announced that it had the, quotes, biggest PC launch of any Ubisoft game ever, which sounds impressive, but they don't exactly clarify what biggest means. And I'm guessing it relates to most units sold. But, you know, that's still pretty impressive considering the amount of games that Ubisoft pumps out. Also, interestingly, they've said nothing about Watch Dogs Legion. So I don't know if that means that kind of flopped. But it's arguably probably a better game than Valhalla. But Assassin's Creed is almost definitely Ubi's single-player flagship. I'd say maybe Rainbow Siege. As much as it was a sleeper hit, it's probably their biggest multiplayer. Maybe Ghost Recon, but who knows. This news comes in wake of an announcement alluding to a content roadmap from, I'm going to try and pronounce this name because it's French, Julien Laferrière, who is the producer of Valhalla. He says the team have plans for content that, quotes, will keep players immersed in their epic Viking saga for a long time to come. So, DLC, baby. Who knows whether that'd be free or it'd be a season pass or what. They haven't said how that's going to work yet, but you're more than likely going to have to pay for it. They also shared some fun stats that players have built over 55 million buildings in their settlements and traveled over 4 million kilometers collectively, which is pretty impressive. Sounds like a lot.
It is a long way.
Those are definitely big numbers.
Yeah.
You can confirm that.
Sounds like a lot because it is.
And on to our final one, bit thick and fast on the news this week. The new console problems are emerging from the Series X and the PS5. We've seen the arrival this month of the latest generation, and while a lot of people are probably enjoying their shiny new machines, there's pretty much inevitably a whole host of teething issues and just kind of random anomalies that are popping up for both consoles. It's not exclusive to one side or the other. It's both PS5 and the Series X and S. People have understandably taken to socials, Reddit primarily and Twitter, to show off their crashes and the bugs and just the random stuff that's been happening. Series X has had random shutdowns, usually when trying to play Cold War. PS5s have cut to back screens and then are just hard crashing to the home screens. A message comes up on the console where players are asked to repair the external storage, which could, I'm guessing, not that I know a lot about tech, but I'd imagine it's maybe some compatibility issues with certain HDDs, which is annoying, but it's not surprising. And there's problems using the quick resume feature, which I believe is just an Xbox thing. Yeah, I mean, you can't guarantee as someone who, if you bought an external hard drive that was made 3 or 4 years ago, they're never going to be able to guarantee that it's going to work immediately with the new stuff, right? That's just impossible.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like, what is this? I don't know what this is.
I mean, it would be surprising if it didn't work with a PC, just because they tend to be a bit more loaded with drivers. I'm not really sure how it would work inside a console, especially as nowadays they're closer to PCs than they ever have been. So whether they load the motherboard with a whole bunch of drivers for external inputs, or whether there's only a certain list of manufacturers that they accept, I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I mean, on PC, as much as upkeep on a PC is a pain in the ass, like you've got the wiggle room where if something doesn't work, you can kind of do a bit of digging, whereas a console, it's just like, this doesn't work.
Contact Microsoft.
Yeah, so you're kind of at a bit of a loss of what to do. A common offender on the PS5 seems to be the exclusive Miles Morales, Matt also mentioned.
Oh my god, I've been so wrong. I was like, everyone who has a PS5 get Miles Morales. Crash it now.
It's pretty good, but it just sometimes doesn't work. So if you're going to get a problem, it's probably going to be with that. And again, with Cold War. Whereas on the Xbox, it seems to be also Cold War and with Valhalla. So all the games you mentioned are all having problems. But I would
geez.
imagine if they're the 3 biggest selling games, it's just going to be happenstance that they're going to have more problems because more people are literally playing them. So it's probably just a numbers game. There's been no word yet or any kind of official statement from either Sony or Microsoft at this point. We'll report back on it in a later episode if they do. Now, while this obviously isn't great, when you're trying to integrate new tech with old stuff or older stuff, even now, there's just going to be, I think anyway, there's just going to be unavoidable issues and just random things that pop up. And we work with tech on a fairly regular basis, more so you than me, Matt. But sometimes you just get tech doesn't want to work, and there's no real reason why. Sometimes it's just like, oh, this of all the 5 USB ports I've got, these 3 don't work for some reason.
I don't want to read this USB stick right now, but ask me in 5 minutes. Maybe I'll take a look. It's up to me.
Yeah. Daniel has it where sometimes her laptop just randomly restarts. There's no reason why. Tech just does those things. What are your thoughts, Matt? Do you think everyone should just get a PC? Now that they're so close to PCs, do you think everyone should just take the plunge?
I think consoles have a place as like home entertainment units for people that don't want a PC. Because they work as a DVD player, watch Netflix on them, blah blah blah. They work in that space. So I think it's fine to get a console. I don't think it's a good idea to ever get the first wave of releases, because this will happen. And I would challenge someone to show me a first wave console generation release, like the first wave of consoles that are released in a generation, I should say, and show me that there's no issues. I would say every generation there's going to be problems.
Like even the 360, like that had the red ring of death.
Yeah.
For a good 3+ years after it happened.
It's a known thing.
I've got a day one Xbox One, and I have it where if I put a disc in, it goes too far in, so it doesn't get read. So I have to like hold and tease the disc. Yeah.
There's a joke to be made there, but it's
let's keep it a little bit. Let's keep it a little bit family.
I'm not going to lower the tone that much.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But no, I don't think everyone should get a PC. I think they're great to suit many purposes. If you're like a family person and maybe your job or your hobbies don't revolve around being online, maybe there's no need for you to have one. Phones are incredibly powerful. You can do an awful lot with a phone. Why would you want a PC as well? So I think consoles are great. They're fine. They have their purpose in the home, but just don't get one day one. No matter how excited you are, don't do it. Don't do it, because it always goes wrong every time.
That's a solid piece of advice. And on that note, I am going to stop talking about the news. That's all I've got for you.
Thank you, Sam. I devoured your delicious meal of intellect, and I'm better for it.
Bon appetit.
This is the last round. Fight!
So that's enough of me talking. I need to give my mouth a rest. But now we're going to move on to the final section, which is the question, which this episode is: what are some of our favourite pieces of video game music? And Matt is going to start us off. Matt, what you got for me?
So. One key series popped straight to the forefront of my mind when you mentioned video game music at the end of the last episode. Silent Hill. The Silent Hill soundtrack, I think, is slept on by a lot of people, but it's good. It's like a good, not necessarily just for the game. It is for the game, and some of the tracks really do set the mood perfectly. And the ambient music in the game is like fantastic. Like, it's so disquieting. It makes you so uncomfortable. Like the kind of metallic clangs and the discordant music. It's awesome. But then, especially in Silent Hill 3, there are actually a couple of just like good tracks, like some kind of indie rock tracks that are just cool to listen to.
Like the score and like the sound design overall, not necessarily just the
That's
straight
the way
up
to
music.
put it. Yeah, the score is good on one hand, and then the specific musical tracks are also good. I'll link you some, man. I'll link you some. I love all of the remastered tracks in Ultimate. I think some of them got some love.
Oh, yeah.
And they came out just like... the Duck Hunt theme remastered. I put that on when I'm in the shower. I'm like... fucking good.
There's like 1,000 songs or something in Ultimate, and there's hella tracks in the game.
It's just there's so much there. I just love Ultimate, don't I? Yeah, and also the Mega Man theme.
Oh yeah, the medley.
Yeah, the Mega Man medley. Good God, track 1 from Rule of Rose. If you've not heard it, put into YouTube Rule of Rose track 1 OST. That it's a short piece, but kind of like with the Silent Hill soundtrack, it just sets the mood for the game so perfectly. It's just this short orchestral piece that is filled with like somber longing and hope, and it's just so emotional. Like I really love that track. I think that's great. All of the battle tracks from Darkest Dungeon are freaking awesome. When I play D&D and we get into a fight, roll initiative is shouted, and then bam, Darkest Dungeon battle music goes on because it's so desperate and tense and really like raises the mood. Everything in Doom 2016 and Eternal, of course.
Oh, great soundtrack.
BFG Division, super gore nest. The only thing they fear is you. When you can name tracks from a video game off the top of your head, that's when you know it's got a sweet, sweet soundtrack. They're just good rock tracks. Like they hold a candle to just regular rock songs, in my opinion. If you can deal without lyrics, and video game music tends to repeat so that it can end more easily, but they're good. They're good. And any music by Andrew Hulshult, he is like an indie game darling for rock music. He's I think he did Dusk, a Medieval, Nightmare Reaper, Aeon Fury. If you find a 90s throwback FPS on Steam, I would bet money that Andrew Hulshult composed for it, and he kicks ass. He just rocks it. Like the tracks are always so good, they're so pumping, and they set the mood. And I think that's maybe one thing that is kind of a string throughout everything that I'm saying. I love tracks that set a really good mood, and they kind of take you back to what it was like to play that game. They really like draw you in. Yeah, that's my.
Would you like him and Mick Gordon to collaborate?
Mate, if they did a song together, my nuts would explode.
It's that good.
Be done. Go on, Sam. What are some of your favorite video game songs?
So I'm a huge fan of video game music in general. I've got my own personal playlist that I listen to on an almost daily basis, and I'm just going to reel off what I think are just some absolute bangers. I split it into two categories. So like I quite like nostalgic 8/16-bit, so like NES and SNES music, which I can understand that everybody's into. It's got a very specific sound. And then just kind of more modern music. Super Mario obviously has countless classic tunes. I'm pretty sure everybody alive knows the Super Mario Brothers theme. Super Mario World has one of my favorite soundtracks ever. And it probably ties into the fact it's also one of my favorite games ever, if not my favorite game ever. I think because it was one of the first games that I thought, shit, this stuff's good. I want to do this all the time. It has that real nostalgic sort of feedback loop for me. Makes me feel like a kid again when I play it. Street Fighter is the same. Guile's theme, of course. But also you got people like Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, Dudley, Remy, and Zangief. Zangief? How do you say it? I say Zangief.
Zangief.
Yeah, all those themes are embedded firmly into my brain. Anything from Rare, Donkey Kong Country, or the Donkey Kong games in general, Banjo, GoldenEye. Music was like a really important part of the games that they as a dev did, and I think they really understood like the role music played in a lot of their games. Particularly games like Banjo and Donkey Kong, like Donkey Kong Country, you had instruments in the game that, they featured them as part of the gameplay, which I thought was really cool. Guy that did them, I think Grant Kirkhope.
What a name.
He's still like winning awards for stuff he's composed. He still is composing stuff like modern, like today.
Video game music.
I think just music in general, but yeah, like for like indie films and stuff like that. So yeah, find him on the socials and give him a follow because he's a really nice guy. F-Zero as well, the original on SNES. That's got some of my favorite ever 16-bit music. Big Blue, Mute City, legendary in their own right. But even like the title screen and the the Win theme, they're great as well. And then you've got subsequent F-Zero games like X and GX, which like evolved the music into like took it to the next level. One of my personal favorites is Night of Big Blue, which is on GX, and there's some good like fan metal mixes of a few of the songs on there. Like a metal mix of Big Blue is got the chef's kiss. And then you've got things that are more like iconic, which I think are the Warthog Run from Halo 3, which is awesome. And again, like you said, the modern Dooms, they're just like a prime quintessential example of how to score a video game and how to not just like they're fantastic tracks on their own, but they go so well with the game they're in.
Yeah.
Like they fit what they are really well. And GTA 5, you know, like everything else in that game, has a masterpiece of a score. Songs like, they probably won't mean anything to you, but North Yankton Memories, The Grip, We Were Set Up, No Happy Endings, you know, they wouldn't be out of place in like a Hollywood blockbuster. They're just they just fit the game so well. And I'm going to finish with a lesser known one, the soundtrack to the game Dust Force, if you know that.
I don't. I've never heard of that.
Check that out. I think you'd like that game. It's tough, but I think you'd like it. I think it was done by one artist. I'll link that in the description as well. Yeah, it's just awesome.
Nice.
So yeah, those are my picks.
And from your picks to both of our picks, as in the next question for the next episode, which video game animal would we love to keep as a pet? I love this question.
I thought, yeah, it was a bit lighter. I was trying to think of ones that are a little bit more outside the box and not just what are our favorite things. So it was a little bit, you know,
I like it.
I liked our video game invitees to the party question that we did a few episodes back. So
that was a commenter. That was a commenter question. And it was a good question.
So yeah, well,
Ooh.
I don't know. Nothing springs to mind on this one, but I'll have to ruminate on it.
No, I'm gonna have to think of video games that have animals in them that you interact with a lot. Well, I mean, there's one now that I say that. But
there's one that springs to mind for me, yeah, but I'll keep it pocketed. So that's it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening, as always.
Yeah, thank you for choosing to spend your time here with us. And if you like what you heard, subscribe to the channel. And there's a bell. You touch it, and it lets you know when we release new stuff.
Yeah, which, if you have been following, it's been a little bit few and far between lately, and I take more responsibility for that. I think it's because so I've kind of stopped. I was working, and then I wasn't. Matt is like more so working, so like our schedules are a bit out of sync. So it's not that we don't care about the channel, but just kind of things are a bit weird at the moment, as they are with the entire world.
Yeah, it's just about priorities, isn't it? And this is fun. It's an aside, but it is exactly that.
But if you want to follow us on socials, we're on Facebook, Instagram. We post funny. Well, I think it's funny. It's up to you to decide, really.
It's funny
stuff there. Well, that's the aim. Doesn't really get across. It's all about taste. But yeah, post stuff there. If you want to follow us on socials, we give an update on videos that are released on there as well. And yeah, just give us a follow. It all helps. Any love you can shoot our way is much appreciated.
And you can use those same channels to start discussions with us if you so choose about any of the topics that we raise in the episodes or anything else in and out of the gaming world. Yeah, if you want to interact, send us feedback, send us questions, whatever, we'll happily take it on board. But thank you again for listening, and you take care. Bye-bye.